there is no denying it has been a very active start to our meteorological winter, as we have already seen 18 inches fall here at the Rockford region, which already puts us above the entire winter total of 2024 through 2025, where 17.1 inches of snow ended up falling. And that's not the only thing. We have seen temperatures very much well below normal. The only exception, what happened earlier on this week, Tuesday and Wednesday, where temperatures topped out at 41 degrees. But I do want to preface this by saying that 41-degree temperature happened over 2 hours, as Tuesday night at 11 p.m. and then Wednesday morning at 1 a.m. That's when we saw those temperatures. Otherwise, we have been well below zero, and a lot of it has to do with the polar vortex. Now, there's kind of two states the polar vortex can be in. When it is strong, well, for the most part, we actually see it more of a circular, and a lot of that cold kind of stays up to the north. And with that in mind, we don't really see many impacts here across the state line or across the United States whenever we have a strong polar vortex. However, on the flip side, well, this is when we get a weak polar vortex, and typically this is what we see during La Nina years, which we are currently underneath. That is when our jet stream really starts to see more north and south, and well, it even enters the United States and across the region, and that's typically how we get a lot of our major weather systems, and of course, that major cold. So with that in mind, we are seeing kind of a polar vortex just to our northeast right now. Now, granted, it's not super far south, but hey, it's far enough south for a lot of us to be well below where we should be at, and especially this weekend with wind chills near -25 to -30. Yeah, we are certainly getting that polar air. But another thing it does, whenever we do have these polar vortexes to our north and east, this is typically when we get something we call Alberta clippers. That's where a low pressure system develops in the parts near Alberta, Canada, and when it happens, well, typically the characteristics that these show is we get a lot of that light puffy snow, and of course we see very strong northwesterly winds. In addition, get a lot of that light and fluffy snow. So with that in mind, well, that's kind of what we've been seeing here over the past couple of days, and that is what we're going to be seeing here tonight, as we do have a slight chance for some snow, but man, that cold air is really going to filter in, and we can kind of see it on our mid-level maps right now. To our north and east, you can see this big dip in the jet stream. Well, there's our polar vortex, and there's the upper level trough that has really been giving us this frigid air. But as we get towards the weekend, it starts to shrink a little bit as a high pressure ridge to our west really starts to compress what's going on, meaning for us, strong northwesterly flow is expected, driving in more of that Arctic polar air. And again, temperatures are set to plummet. But as we go throughout the week, you'll notice that upper level trough starts to weaken and eventually pushes back up toward the north, giving us what we call zonal flow, or more west to east. And with that, we're finally going to see temperatures start to regulate out, and heck, could even see those temperatures get back to above normal, which is definitely some great news, as we're going to go from nearly 30 degrees below zero, or below normal, for our Saturday and Sunday, to potentially up to 10 degrees above normal. So yeah, needless to say, the weak polar vortex caused by the La Nina has really been playing havoc on the start to our winter.